Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Friday Night Rambles. This is episode 2 of the brand new series. We're back again. Thank you so much for all your support again, as always. And today we are going back to our musical theatre roots because we've got a brand spanking episode of Everybody's Talking About Jamie. Who doesn't love Everybody's Talking About Jamie? Well, we've got two of the, we say current casts. Obviously, the show's currently not playing in the West End due to weird circumstances, which we won't go into, hopefully, that much. But we've got two of the most amazing cast members from the show. We've got David O'Reilly and Melissa Jacques. Hello.
Hi.
I'll do this way. I'm still getting used to this. How are you both doing?
Hi. Good.
Yeah, not bad. Thank you, mate. Thanks for having us on.
No, thank you for coming on. David, I'm loving the background. We'll start with you. I'm loving your background. I think you win the prize for the best background we've had so far.
Well, I'd like to claim that this is
such a lovely garden.
I'd like to claim that this is my garden and I designed it, but that would be lying. It's my boyfriend's garden. He's a bit of a garden fanatic, actually, and he made me sit here so you could all compliment it.
And have you been doing a bit of gardening during lockdown?
And this is my bed.
That's where the magic happens, boober.
That went south in the record time. Congratulations. What we're going to do is, David, we're going to say goodbye to you for a couple of minutes just so we can chat to Mel first. Don't go anywhere.
He just arrived.
Bye.
We'll start with Melissa. So, because Melissa, you joined the show before David, but before we talk about everything about Jamie, how did you start off in the business? How did you start off in the business of show?
Like way back, I was at dancing school as a kid in Sheffield, and then I did a lot of Amdram stuff. Had singing lessons from being, I guess, 11 or 12, and then I finally came to London when I was 19. And I went to LSMT, London School of Musical Theatre, and did a year's course there. And on leaving that course, I did my first job. And it was a January to December course. So it wasn't kind of like school term times. So a lot of us left and went straight to panto. So I left college in the December and went and did my first panto. I played Dick Whittington. And they paid me for it. And I couldn't quite believe it. It's like, someone's going to pay me to do this. I got this check and I was like, oh my gosh, someone's paying me to do this now. And that was 25 years ago.
Wow. You don't look it.
You don't know how old I was when I went to college.
And since then, your CV is very impressive. I'm just looking at it now. You've done some amazing shows. Both regionally and in the West End. I mean, looking at Into the Woods, Company, Monty, Mamma Mia. I mean, some massive shows. Talk about, so what was your first West End show that you did?
First West End show was Mamma Mia, but it did take me 4 years to get a job in the West End. I started in the industry in 95, 96, but I did a lot of summer seasons and pantos. I think a lot these days, however, very sadly, things are going to change a little bit because of the circumstances at the moment. But I had to do the groundwork first. I did a lot of pantos, a lot of summer seasons, a lot of profit share things. And so 1999, I got Mamma Mia, but that was the original cast. I am that old. Yeah.
So you were original cast Mamma Mia? Wow. And so what was that like? We've got to stop there. What was that like being in the original cast of Mamma Mia and now knowing what a global
brand it is? Yeah. It was amazing. I mean, I couldn't quite believe it. you still don't ever get over getting a job in this industry, to be honest. You still, when I remember getting Wicked, I screamed like I just got my first job. It's, you know, I was a grown woman with 2 children. But it was amazing. I couldn't believe I was going to be in the West End. I was a swing, and I was a bit like, oh, what? No idea. So I had to learn to swing. I had to learn to understudy. But along with it came all the, you know, the press nights and Benny and Bjorn being around, just being at Prince Edward as well, which is just such a magical theatre and just a wonderful place to be, right in the heart of Soho. My parents used to love coming to the theatre, just right there where you can just sit on the pavement, have drinks, and just be in this wonderful area. But when we first started, we didn't know how it was, you know, it is a global brand now. I think that's how we talk about it. You know, it's not just a hit show anymore. It's been running for 21 years, and there are 2 films, there are 2 movies. When we were first in the show, like, imagine if they ever made a film of this, and we'd like do comedy dream casting of who play what. Never in our minds would we now realise what it has become. But during those first previews, we're just like, they're going to hate it. Oh God, they're not going to like this bit. We were just so nervous because we were putting in these ABBA songs, and then the reactions, those first preview reactions, I remember sitting with the swings. We went out and watched every night, and we just sat around going, oh my gosh, people are laughing, but not laughing at it, but laughing with it, because they're like, oh my gosh, they've put Chiquitita there, and oh my gosh, they've put No Me No You there. I think it was just so welcoming for people, and also it was female led. 21 years ago, you know, it was a female producer, a female director, and a female writer. So it was a really strong, I think it's like one of its first, you know. I know Waitress recently has been the first all-female creative producer, music, all everything. But Mamma Mia really kind of, Judy Kramer, Phyllida Lloyd, and Katherine Johnson, you know, with this great female team, which was very exciting. And it's been a massive part of my life. I was in the show for 2 years, then I left, and then I went back and did another couple of years. I became the alternate Donna at the ripe old age of 27. Then I left for quite a long time, and then I went back again and had another couple of years in the show there. I had my first child there, not there in the theatre on stage or anything, but I was pregnant at Mamma Mia. You know, those people, we've been to each other's weddings, we're best friends, we're godparents of each other's children. You know, it's a huge part of my life. And
so talk about that process. Obviously, you were swing. How did, like, what was the thought process for becoming, like, alternate Donna? Like, were you sort of put up for it? Did you want to become Donna eventually? How did that work?
Well, I mean, yeah, the thing was, I was only 24, but I wasn't, at age 24, being in Mamma Mia, you'd think that you'd be covering Sophie, Ali and Lisa, but even at 24, I was the 3rd cover to the Dynamos. So I was covering those roles even when I was 24. So, and I went on as 3rd cover in the original cast. I went on for Rosie for quite a few shows, which was crazy. And I have before been on for Donna when I was like 2nd cover or something, to a Sophie who was older than me.
Wow.
She was a year older than me. We were the same age, sort of, but there I was playing a mum. Because I've sort of always just grown into I've always been a mum, basically, on stage and in life. But swinging, I came from a musical theatre course, which was kind of led like a company. It's sort of treated like we were in a production every day. We'd come in and do warm up and class, and it was kind of treated like that. At the time, I know that they do. I know that they deal with it now, but at the time, I sort of knew what a swing was, but we never done like a swing class, which I think is vital, really, to be able to know, okay, this is the job of a swing, and this is what you need to do. I really didn't know what the hell was going on when I got there. Everyone's like, you've got your Bible sorted, you've got your stickers and your highlighters. I'm thinking, what are they talking about? And so when I got there and I spoke to the dance captain, who was like one of my dear friends now, I said, so I basically need to watch that lady, the Dynamos. And she's like, yeah, don't worry about that yet. She says, you need to watch those 8 women, those 8 girls for their tracks. I was like, right, okay. but it taught me a lot. I think I did a lot of learning in the industry there. I did a lot of growing up. I learned to do everything at Mamma Mia. It was kind of like going back to a sort of an institution for me in a way. And then I wasn't until a lot later down the line did I get offered alternate Donna.
And obviously, besides Mamma Mia, you've been in some other big shows talking about these big brands. Wicked, that's obviously a massive brand.
Oh yeah,
so
it was amazing.
What was your process like doing Wicked then? So what were you in Wicked?
I was the midwife track, first cover to Madame Morrible. And I just always wanted to do Wicked. I just thought, it must be amazing to be in such a beautiful production. I mean, the costumes, you just still, after you'd been in the show for 2.5 years, you still can't quite get over some of the costumes. And I think personally, I got to wear the best set of costumes there is in the show, in any show really. Morrible's set of costumes are exquisite and are the most expensive costumes in the show. You don't get all of them as an understudy, but they are quite something. And that wig, and it just, I don't know, it's just telling the story we all know there was a divorce, but knowing the others, you know, what could have been the other story, and just every scene. I remember someone saying to me, gosh, every scene is like, it's like an art, it's like a work of art, every sort of movement and scene. And it's true, it's a huge production and a huge undertaking. But I'd always wanted to sing the score. When it first came out, I was on tour with the Full Monty, I think, and we were all playing it in our cars and in the dressing rooms, and we just couldn't get over this musical score. So I'd always really wanted to sing it. So I was really, really chuffed to get Wicked, and I was more thrilled because I was going to be understudying a friend of mine. She was playing Madame Morrible, and a really dear friend of mine. Unfortunately, during that time there, she lost a battle to cancer, so we didn't really ever get to be in the building at the same time. It was Louise Plowright. We were going to be sort of reconnected again after our time understudying her at Mamma Mia. So that was going to be a really special time. So it was, my time at Wicked sticks in my mind for a lot of reasons. I loved playing Madame Morrible. I loved being in that show. That was the time where Louise was poorly, and we did a lot of fundraising within the West End to raise money for this treatment that she was going to do in South Korea. But also I was pregnant with my second child on that show. So I then went on maternity leave. I was 7 months pregnant on that stage. Those costumes, well, we've altered your costumes, Mel, again for you, Mel. And I put them on, they fit. And I'd be like, how? I don't understand it was magic. It's like, it is magical there, because the costumes just kept fitting me, yet I couldn't see where they were. Anyway, so I came off stage and I went on maternity leave, and then I went back with another baby. So they call themselves the Mamma Mia baby and the Wicked baby.
Brilliant way to define them. And finally, before we move back on to David, before we talk about everybody's talk about Jamie, Kinky Boots. We have to talk about Kinky Boots. It's one of my favourite shows. Yeah. You were saying before, you've got fond memories of being in that show as well. Yeah, it's one of my favourite jobs ever. Just a really lovely message at a time where it was kind of needed. Acceptance and gay marriage had just been passed in America, I think, at the same time as that, and it was just such a. It's very similar to Jamie, where you look out into audiences and people at Kinky Boots, you know, guys would come in drag, and you know, well, I don't know, people just come and just feel they can just be who they wanted to be who you want to be. That's one of the lyrics from Kinky Boots, isn't it? And I remember Jerry saying, "You will feel this tsunami of love," is what he used to say at the end of at the finale of Kinky Boots. And I was reunited with some of my Wicked pals on there, and made other friends for life. And I don't know, yeah, it was the first time I'd ever had a little role as well. So I wasn't understudying for the first time, and I got this little role. It wasn't a huge role, Trish, but she was so lovely. And guess what? She was a motherly kind of character. But it was a really, really lovely little role. I loved it. And yeah, I just loved being on that show. Because all the the cast members in Kinky Boots have their own little names as well. So it's quite nice
yeah.
that there's everyone's got, whether people don't know them, everyone's kind of, each track's got their own little name.
Absolutely, yeah. So you all know your own little background, and you might know, it's really vital as well. You're all, but we're all working in a factory, so you need to know why that person does that person and why that person sat at a sewing machine at that point. It's a working environment. So if you create your own little story and background, then I guess it pays off.
And that brings us up to Jamie, and we're going to love you leave you because David's going to come on now and we're going to talk to David. So bye-bye to you and hello to you. Hello, and he's got his drink in his hand.
Jesus Christ, Julie Goodyear went on a bit, didn't she? My God. Mel, I just had a message from Shane Ritchie, and he said, Mel rocking the cat moon print, tiger print.
I don't know why I went for this. I was going to go for something really neutral. I thought, you know what? I'm going to bung a bit of print on.
Julie, calm down.
That's what my husband said. He's like, what time's Rover's open?
Oh, I love that. Shane Ritchie, bless your heart, mate. I love that. Right, David, hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me.
It's absolute pleasure. So let's start at the beginning with you. So how did you get into the business of show?
I've always been a very shy and understated character. No, I'm joking. I did drama at school, and then from there I went to a performing arts school in Dublin, and from that I didn't actually intend on doing it. So I went to did a year of uni in Ireland doing media, and then I got the opportunity to audition for a musical theatre college over in London, and I did, and I got in, and I decided, sure, Jesus, my parents have nothing else to be worrying about than paying expensively £1,000 worth of musical theatre fees. Why not just plunge that on them? And I did. And I went and I trained for 3 years in a place that's no longer with us, CPA Studios, RIP. And and that's how I got into theatre, really, just kind of as a kid, kind of doing a few drama clubs and stage school.
And again, like Mel, your CV is hella impressive. We're talking Grease, we're talking Grease Again, we're talking Book of Mormon, we're talking Catherine Tate. I mean, this is big stuff. So let's start with Grease. So Grease, talk about Grease.
So I graduated in July 2010, and in December 2010 I got offered Grease at the Piccadilly Theatre to do the last contracts of the 4 years that I'd been there. It'd been the longest running musical at the Piccadilly, and it was off the back of that TV show, You're the One That I Want, which had been happening 4 years previous. So I knew that I was going in for like altogether 4 months, I think. And it was closing then after that and going on a UK tour. And of course, coming out of college and getting that sort of opportunity to play one of the T-Birds and play a role like Roger, a comedy part, was a great song and has great moments. I got to dance, sing and act in this great show that, like it'd been kind of filtered down from its original production at the Dominion Theatre, actually, where Shane Ritchie played Kaniki and Danny Zuko. Like, in it was that show back at the Dominion was incredible. The cast that were part of it and the various different versions that kind of led to it being in the last West End production, which was at the Piccadilly Theatre before it started touring the UK. And it was David Gilmour's director and the incredible Arlene Phillips choreographed it. So I was very, very lucky and honoured to be part of such an iconic show in the West End, and then subsequently, then a year later, going on tour around the UK with it for a year, which is even better.
And so who was in your cast when you did the final run in the West End?
Final run in the West End, we had Karina Gillespie, who is, I believe, won Esther Rose and Wicked before Miss Rona arrived. Matthew Goodgame was Danny, Michael Pickering, Matthew Russell-Jones, Amy Thornton, Craig Tyler, John Reynolds. We had a load of various kind of musical theatre folk involved. It was amazing.
So some big names in the theatre world, and then that leads us on to Book of Mormon.
Yeah, I'm laughing here. My boyfriend's brothers come into the garden, and my boyfriend's like this. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
The Book of Mormon, it's a big show, Book of Mormon. So what was that like being in the original West End cast of Book of Mormon?
Oh, it was very overwhelming, but they'll have you, if you speak to any of the original, they say I'm not an original because I didn't start until the 4th day of rehearsals of the first week. So Stephen Ashfield always goes, but you weren't really the original cast, where you were 1.1. But it was an amazing, it was out of this world, kind of overwhelming. It was the biggest show to open in the West End in years. A brand new production. It was, the marketing was vomited all over London. People were going, what the hell is this show that's coming? People here at South Park, they kind of went a bit crazy. They were like, oh my God, what is this? And we opened and it was just a juggernaut. It was mental. Everybody came to see it. And, you know, the names and the actors and the people. And I think right up until Miss Rona arrived, they hadn't had an unsold seat in the 7 years that it'd been open. You know, and for a show in the West End, that's a real testament to the box office staff and the producers, and particularly Sonia Friedman, who was the UK producer of it, who is a goddess amongst people. She really is an incredible woman, and she looks after that show better than anybody could, and she looks after all her shows incredibly well. And my experience with it has been nothing but positive. So yeah, it was all around. It was a great opportunity for me, and I spent 5 very happy years there.
So, you obviously you say that the people that came in were of high caliber. Gavin Creel, again, original Olivier Award winner for that role. Jared Gertner, who took over Josh Gad on Broadway. These big names. So, what was it like to stand by for these actors of high caliber?
Well, I think you kind of have to just let it kind of put all that stuff aside, because actually, you know, you have a job to do, and you know, Jared is a friend now. Him and his family, you know, I've been out to LA and visited them, and Gavin is such a great guy, and both of them are just incredible company leaders. And when they left, actually, there was a real hole in the London company after a year and a half that we'd spent with them. They had really led the company so fantastically. And actually, I got sent to New York with Gavin. We got sent over to do some rehearsal audition stuff for Price in Cunningham in about the November of the first. It was the April of the second year. And Gavin brought me to see my first Broadway show. We went to see Pippin, and I built up such an amazing relationship with him, because I would go on when Jared was sick, or Dan Buckley would, and you know, we had such a special bond and relationship with each person that you went on with. And actually, over my time there, I ended up being on for my 5 years there, I did 6 Elder Price debuts as their Cunningham understudies and people who were going on, yeah.
But here's trick, can you name them all?
Yes, Ross Hunter, Oliver Ormston, Alex Lodge, Daniel McKinley, not Ashley Day. Two more. Give me the price covers. Stephen. No, I didn't do Stephen Raleigh. I did him. Yeah, that's all I can remember.
But still, again, some of the Ashley Day, now a massive West End star. Oliver Ormston, now a massive star. Some big names. But then where do you go from being 5 years in Book of Mormon? Where do you go after that? So tell us a little bit about leaving the show like Book of Mormon and your next steps.
Well, as I was standby at Mormon, actually, I got to go and do appear in Benidorm, guest star in Benidorm in 2 series, playing the character Bean, and they allowed me to that because I was standby, because they holiday in Spain and film. And so once that was through Book of Mormon as well. Darren Layton come see it, but Kathy Burke had come to see Mormon, and I very luckily got the opportunity to be cast by her in Lady Windermere's Fan. So I left actually just a little bit before the end of my contract to go and set rehearsals for Lady Windermere's Fan that Kathy was directing as part of the Oscar Wilde season at the Vaudeville Theatre in the West End. And then from Back of Mormon again, Catherine Tate asked me to do the New Zealand and Australian tour and the West End transfer. So I was very lucky kind of within off the back of Mormon and the kind of opportunities that had opened up for me, and I met amazing people from doing Benidorm, like Shane, who I did Panto for in December, and who is a dreamboat, and Kathy, as I said, who was an amazing director, and you know, Catherine and Darren, all these people, well, I met them through Mormon and consequently other jobs. So I tried to kind of grab hold as many opportunities as I could and just do as hard a job and as good a job as possible, really.
Yeah. And that leads us on to everybody's talking about Jamie. So I'm going to bring Melissa back and we're going to talk about how we first found out about, how did you first hear about everybody's talking?
She's back, Julie. You all right, Julie?
Imagine. Oh, sorry.
So let's talk about how
you having a drink tonight.
I'll have a drink, will you? That's the first night since lockdown. I'm going to tell him my favourite story. I was on the phone to Mel about 2 months ago, right? And the girls were in the background playing around. And me and Mel were talking. She goes, hang on, David, a minute. Girls, stop! Girls, stop! So she goes, David, hang on 1 second. Get away from that drinks trolley! Oh gosh, she's got priorities, right?
Love it. Love it.
Oh,
so let's talk about.
They were about to cartwheel into the gin and the glasses, Robert. So.
Well, I've got no words for that. That's impressive doing. So,
she's a lush.
I can't. This is brilliant. Let's talk about how we first heard about everybody's talking about Jamie. So, where did you first hear about this musical? Let's start with Mel.
Me?
Yes, you.
Well, I am from Sheffield, and I had heard that it was happening on the grapevine workshops and things like this. Our wonderful creator and director, Jonathan Buttrell, who's also from Sheffield, and I have a link from Sheffield, so we'd met before, and I also had a meeting for it for the second time they did the workshop. So I went in and I met Tom and I met Jonathan and I read, and Jonathan was obviously quite excited because he knew that I knew exactly what he was talking about on the page and where they live and that area and what that's like. And actually, it's funny because I was at Wicked at the time, because I remember asking the MD at the time to help me go through He's My Boy. I'm pretty sure it was in a higher key then than it is now. I was just thinking, my life, this song is mammoth. And I remember it thinking, gosh, it sounds like this big Dusty Springfield number, which is exactly what it's like, you know. And so I went for this, I went for the audition for that. It didn't happen. They were using Josie Walker. I don't know. They were using Josie Walker, and she'd done the first. Which was that? Obviously, Josie had done the first one, and she was nominated for the Olivier because it was. If you didn't see Josie's performance as Margaret, it was unbelievable. And then when it went into production in Sheffield at the Crucible, which is obviously my hometown, I was just so thrilled that this brand new musical was happening there with Dan Gillespie Sells writing the music. I mean, it just sounded like it was a little bit of magic that was happening. And people that I know, family and friends that went to see it there, they were like, it's amazing. And it transferred to London pretty quickly. But by this time, when it was in production like this, I was in Kinky Boots at the time, so I wasn't available to even be in the room for it. But then I left Kinky Boots and it was already in town, and this is 2 years ago actually, as we speak now, like 2 years ago now, I was just rehearsing for it. And wow. What are you going to do after Kinky Boots, Melissa? Oh, I'm going to have the summer off. I'm going to have the summer off. Have a bit of a rest, you know, it's been a long time. Maybe like September, I might think about another little job. 3 weeks. And that's not me shouting my mouth off that I was only 3 weeks out of work, but it's just so unexpected because it was up and running. I didn't know that it would ever come calling, really. I knew I wanted it to hang around because I knew I wanted to be in there when it had done a year, but just so happens that Josie was leaving at the time, Rebecca McGuinness was taking over, and so they needed another standby for those other 3 roles. So I went in, really hot day in June, the end of June, and one of those, you walk into the room and it says, this is Dan Gillespie Sells. You're like, oh, hello. This is Nika Burns. You're like, okay. Or huge impresario, the theatrical impresario. And Jonathan, I'd obviously met before, all these people. It's just one of those rooms where you're a bit like, it was a Stalls bar, I think. And having to sing that song, and then him directing me and really kind of pulling on my motherly strings and asking me about my girls and stuff. And having to sing that song in the Stalls bar when you're kind of nervous and emotional is a bit of a challenge. But it was, it was really wonderful. And that was it. And I started 2 years ago in the summer, standing by for Margaret and Ray and Miss Hedge. And then after about a year, 14 months, I was then, Rebecca got Heidi, Dear Evan Hansen, which was just unbelievable. And for her, and they said they'd like me to take over. I cried.
Wow. So I'm guessing that was quite a react, because obviously Rebecca took over from Josie. So were you sort of not necessarily expecting it, but were you sort of thinking, oh, this could be a good chance to move up if it came about?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it, as well? I think this is what the industry is seeing that's happened at Jamie as well, is that how they have done that. And it's happened at Wicked recently. Alice Byrne, Emma Hatton, Alice Byrne, taking over these roles. You know, these people were only in these roles for us, you know, we're only in these positions because we're equipped to do the job. So I think it's fantastic that they've done it twice to both Becky and I. And of course, I think I was probably hanging around thinking, I really hope it happens to me at some point. You don't know what's happened with the future of the show, how long we're going to go. I mean, 2020, right, is a write-off. We can all say that. But I was only thinking this today. I thought we can just write this year off, can't we? And I thought, gosh, last year was obviously probably the best year of my life, career-wise for me, because I'm the ripe old age of 40-something, and it's the first time I'd landed at a leading role in the West End after being in the industry for 25 years. So people that know me and know me in the industry know how much it meant to me. I'd understood it, and I'd stuck my heels in, and I'd continued to push and push in this industry because I was determined that it was going to happen to me one day. And thanks to Jonathan and to Dan and to Tom and to Nika, it did.
Impressive, absolutely impressive stuff. And David, how did you hear about Jamie?
Same. I had a couple of friends that had gone in. I'd heard about the show on in Sheffield, and actually any show that kind of comes into town after having a regional run is very much talked about, you know, because it's very rare these days that a producer takes a chance on a show that's never been heard before. You know, they might transfer old classics from Chichester or other places, but it's very rare that a new musical was picked up from a regional theatre and dropped into the West End. So everybody kind of knew about it. It was on the talk of town, and of course, when a new show comes into town, most performers, the question I ask myself, is there anything in it for me? And kind of looking at it, there was one role in it that I was like, oh my god. But I was very intimidated at the time because the amazing Alex Anstey played it like a virgin, and he was so funny. He really was so fantastic, and the three drag queens themselves was just a great unit, and it was a real highlight of the show for me. These were like they were like the clowns, the comedic art of the piece. You know, when you've got like the heartbreak of listening to this mother talk about the rejection of her from her husband. Her son turns against her in it, you know, and then comes full circle to realise that his mum is the only person that, you know, has fully believed in him all his life and has pushed him to be whoever he wants to be. And then you have these three clowns that kind of appear every now and again with Hugo. It was a real kind of, it was like, oh my God, delicious. So I got the opportunity to audition for the tour, and they say, come in and drag. Now, if anybody knows me, I hate doing drag. I hate it. Right? It's so uncomfortable. But I went in, I dressed in, I did my own makeup. I looked like a smashed lasagna. And I went into the Stalls bar and I auditioned in the Stalls bar, the same one as Mel. And it's very disconcerting when you audition in that room because it's the colour of poo. It's a poo-coloured room. It's brown. And it's a very disconcerting room to audition in. You feel like the walls are collapsing inside. Anyway, I auditioned and they said, can you come back for a final? And I said, I was doing One Man, Two Governors at the time, so we were teching in Derby, so I couldn't get back in time. And they understandably said I couldn't be released at tech rehearsals, obviously. And so they said, can you video yourself? And I went, in drag? They went, yeah. I said, I ain't got any drag, I'm in Derby. Cue me making a head wrap out of a big fur coat that I wore on the show, glasses and lipstick, and I filmed every drag queen separately and edited the videos and sent them down. Anyway, I then got a call to say, sadly, Dave Costello wasn't there, it's not gone his way. I was like, fine, come. And then I got a call a week later saying, or an email, my agent rings me and goes, you're not going to believe this. They actually want you to open in the West End. But I had already signed up to Panto, and a really epic Panto as well. And one I was really excited about in Bristol, as I said, with Shane Ritchie and an amazing cast, director, choreographer. It was the Dick Whittington set from the Palladium. It was just going to be, and it really was an amazing show. So I didn't want to walk away from that because it was my first time playing Dame. And they agreed to allow me and Leon Craig, who now plays Sandra Bullock, to do 3 days rehearsals. And I finished Dick Whittington on Sunday. I finished Dick Whittington on the Sunday and opened in Jamie on the Monday night. I did look like I'd had a couple too many drinks walking around the stage in the finale, but I think apart from that, no one died. So it was a great success.
Because I was going to say about that, because I did know that obviously Leon and you were in Panto and the turnaround was quite tight. So were you rehearsing on your days off? Were you?
Yeah, the night before I would come back up to London, go to rehearsals and get up in the morning where I live, go into town, go to rehearsals to the theatre. We actually did like 2 days prep before we went to Panto as well. But by the time the rehearsals came around, we had forgotten that because we'd been through a rehearsal process for Panto and did everything for Panto. And I remember the MD, Richard, we laughed at it, and he was like, oh, you don't remember that harmony? I said, no, I don't remember that harmony. Are you mad? So we did that on our days off. And then we actually had never done the finale with a full cast until the dress run on the Monday. I don't know how we did it, but it's just a testament to the incredible family atmosphere and caring nature of the whole team in that building. Honestly, I know everybody says that and it might sound like a cliche, but the family atmosphere in that building is like no other that you've ever experienced.
And speaking about rehearsals, so Mel, when you were rehearsing for your 3 individual tracks, when you were doing Standby, how did you go about rehearsing that? How was your rehearsal process for that?
I drank a lot.
Lush. She a lush.
Well, first of all, I had to get Margaret under my belt, really, obviously, first and foremost. I just did it one track at a time. Oh my gosh, I can't remember because I have been a swing before, and they do say, David will agree, once a swing, always a swing. Like you'll always pick stuff up quite quickly. You'll always pick stuff up quite quickly. And if you've ever covered, you know, to get stuff under your belt, anytime you sat on the train, anytime you sat at home, just keep going over it and over and over and over it. So I looked at Margaret first, and then I moved on. I did Margaret first, and I moved on to Ray. By the time I got to Hedge, it just wouldn't go in, and I thought, gosh, this is just proof that I'm just getting a bit too old now for all this info to go in. You know, you don't learn as quick and you don't retain as much information. And I was having a bit of a Britney breakdown about that, really, because I was just thinking, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to go in. So therefore, I always really dreaded and loathed having to go on for Miss Hedge, because I was just so nervous about it, because it was the last one that I came to do. And also, she doesn't have many conversations. With Ray and Margaret, you're in the same scene together. So it's like being a Dynamo cover. You're all in the scenes together. So you know what that dialogue is. I swear to God, here's a nice little story for you. My very first time on as Miss Hedge, because all she does is just shout at this classroom full of kids. And it's all, you know, shut up, be quiet, calm down, keep it down. Fatima, Pretty, all these names, just banging off names all the time. And if it's ever a cut show and you've got another name to call, I can't say another name. Please don't make me say another name. And it started. And will you be quiet? Everyone's quiet. And I was leaning on the desk. Nothing. Gone. Blanked. No idea what's happening. At the time, the dance captain at the time was sitting at the desk that I was leaning on, Shiv Ribeiro, beautiful, beautiful boy. And he literally went, as I was saying, and he's saying the line to me. He was actually feeding me a line because I dried, like I need, like a stage manager shouting a line off stage to me. And he's going, as I was saying. And I actually audibly, I didn't hear him. So I audibly went, hmm?
Oh my goodness.
I actually asked him, I was like, hmm? And he went, as I was saying. And I was like, as I was saying. And it came back, oh, I was so frightened. And also getting my funk on with the rap and work of art, like years ago when I was in Mamma Mia and I had to be gorge and zhuzh and all that. I would have loved it then, but I was just feeling a little bit, I don't know, just a bit out of my comfort zone with that role, which is a shame because actually by the end of it, I actually really, really enjoyed playing her. But yeah, it was a big old mammoth task. I did have one because I went to Tamsin Carroll, goddess. I went to her dressing room and was like, please help me learn Miss Hedge because it's not going in. She said, listen, what can I tell you? She said, it's 5 scenes, a song, the rap. She said, but you are one step ahead of the game because it's your accent. And I was like, oh yeah, I have got that on my, the one thing I didn't have to worry about was an accent. Of course, some people are coming to this, learning a role, and they've got to make themselves sound from Yorkshire and not from Manchester, where they might be from. Do you know what I mean? So I thought, or Irish.
Or some of the Americans as well. I did have that going.
No, the Americans, no. Roy didn't, and Michelle tried, bless her.
Roy did. Michelle did. Michelle had a proper go at that Yorkshire accent and could come in and say, how will you say this now? Because obviously it is my dialect. But Roy did it American. And there was a line in the scene about him being from America, wasn't there? Put in, I think.
Yeah, they put in a scene where say, oh, are you American? And he's like, oh, how did you know? Or as Roy would say, how did you know?
So, should we play a little game? Should we play a game?
Do it.
We're going to play a game. This is a Jamie-themed game. I'll save the best game to last. But this game is called Everybody's Talking About Jamie Who? So, we are going to play this as a versus game. So, you are going to need a buzzer. So, think of any sound, any random sound. David, what's your buzzer?
Ah, Jesus, Mel, what was mine on the last quiz show we did?
Oh, we had one together and it was Jamie. No, oh, yeah.
Jamie.
Is that going to be yours?
Jamie.
Brilliant. Right. So the aim of the game is I am going to say some famous descriptions of famous Jamies, and you have to figure out who I'm talking about. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Now, yes. I think there's about 8 or 9. Okay. So let's see how we get on. So the first one's first. Famous TV chef. Yeah, that's David Riley.
Jamie Oliver.
Ding, ding, ding. That's 1 point to you. Okie dokie. Next one. Son of famous football manager.
Jamie.
I'll let Melissa go in for that one.
Hey?
Jamie Redknapp.
Correct. It's 1-1. There's a slight time delay, so I have to be fair.
Yeah, there's something wrong with your internet.
Sorry.
Who's next? What?
No, it is. I'm losing points.
Next one. Jazz pianist.
Jamie.
Yep.
Jamie Cullum.
I'll give you that. Yes, Jamie Cullum.
Oh, jazz pianist.
Next one. Star of the film Dreamgirls. Yep, David.
Jamie Foxx.
Ding, ding, ding. It's 2-2. We've got another 4.
Can't wait.
Okay, this one. Maiden Chelsea star who got injured during Strictly Come Dancing last year.
Jamie.
David.
Jamie Langham.
I don't think I can accept that. Melissa?
Jamie Lang.
Jamie Lang, that is correct. It's 3-2.
I said that there was just a bit of a thing with the internet.
Well, you said the wrong thing at the end, and you said a completely different surname.
I said Jamie Lang.
I'll give you. Okay. Please don't hurt me. Next one. Plays tennis with his famous brother.
Jamie.
Melissa.
Mel, wasn't it? It was Mel. Great.
Jamie Murray.
Correct. Next one. So it's 4-2. Still to play for. This you could equalise here, David.
Oh, great.
Defender who played for Liverpool.
Jamie.
Yep. Yes, David.
I don't know. I'm gay. How am I supposed to answer a football question?
Oh, I don't know. Melissa.
Jamie Carragher.
That's correct.
Oh.
David, you might know this one. This one's a good one.
I hope so.
Star of Freaky Friday in Beverly Hills, Chihuahua.
Oh. Now just go for it. Go on. Take it. Go
Jamie
for
Lee
it.
Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Freaking
6-2. 6-2.
Yeah, but Mel's got loads of time on her hands, so it's obvious she's got loads of time on her hands. You know, it's not like she's got 2 kids or anything.
Brilliant. If anybody's got any questions, by the way, feel free to send them in. We will answer them. I've actually got one. Ooh, we've got one here. Got a lot of people saying a lot of love here. Let's have a look. Mel, we got a lot. We got Emma J. Thomas saying, looking and sounding great, Mel.
Emma and I were in the original cast of Mamma Mia together.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
We've got Leslie Maloney saying, hi, David, remembering you from your Lady Windermere's
and you did Mama. So Leslie's daughter was my Lady.
Guess what I did with Leslie? Yeah.
Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
And how funny, Leslie's husband is their production manager.
Oh, for Jamie, that's brilliant.
Yeah. Lovely family, gorgeous,
everything.
Talented.
Gorgeous.
Well,
Grace is going to be a star.
They can stage their own show. Sure. They've got everything, every role covered.
They sure can.
The Maloneys need to put shows on in their garden.
Oh,
it's allowed now. It's allowed now. We can talk a little bit about obviously the new stuff that's been announced with all things that's happened this week with theatre. It's been a big week for theatre. Question though from Jamie, and yeah, we've got lots of people called Jamie in this world. Favorite? Everybody's talking about Jamie's song and why. I've got an idea what Melissa's might be, but then again, it probably might be surprise. But
yeah, he's my boy. Has to be, I guess.
Yeah. For me,
I think "Beautiful" is a very good song though as well.
Yeah, "Beautiful" is it, I mean, Heba, who sings it, and Sabrina, who sung it before, both they did a little the 3 girls who played Prissy in the West End and the girl who plays it on tour did a video during lockdown. Oh my god, Jesus Mary,
it was beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah.
And I think some of my favourite songs from it, Work of Art. I absolutely love Work of Art. I think that is the sort. If a song was going to go into the chart for musical theatre, that would probably be the one that would fit. That makes sense.
Well, I think Work of Art is
it's
the best choreographed number in the show as well, because it has a real dialogue with choreography and the voguing in it. I think Kate's done an amazing job in the show completely, but her identity for that number is just epic. And I've heard the film version is going to be equally as fantastic.
Of course, it's going out on film next year.
that was the wicked thing about Michelle Visage being in and doing work of art, because Michelle started off in the ballrooms in New York, a Vogue championship in the ballroom. So it was fantastic. Yeah, it's a great song.
And let's talk about working alongside some of these famous faces, because as well as you, obviously the majority of the cast are on a year contract or on a longer contract. You do get this rotation start. So how does it work compared to other shows that have got this? Obviously, everyone stays in the contract for a year. So how's that process with people coming in and out?
Basically, we're never out of rehearsal.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. Because it's usually on a 3-month rotation. But I think we've had it at some points where we've had a Hugo and a Miss Hedge start at the same time. So Shane and Hayley started at the same time. And then
Roy and
they're there 3 months. So then you do Roy and Faye. So then we did those at the same time. But then Roy wasn't here as long, and so then you lose a Hugo, and then the Miss Hedge a couple of weeks later leaves. So everything starts, and then you just feel like we are on a roller coaster a lot of the time.
Here's a little fact for you. The Monday, Dark Monday, as it will forever be called, Monday the 16th of March, where all the theatres were closed, was actually supposed to be. I don't know why I'm laughing. Rufus Hound's first show.
Oh, so we never actually got to start.
No,
we'd been in the daytime doing a dress rehearsal for Rufus opening on the Monday night, and again he was doing what David and Leon did with Panto the year before. He'd been doing Boy in the Dress, so at Stratford, so he'd been overlapping. So he'd been coming down on a Monday on his day off, rehearsing flat out on a Monday, going back up to Stratford, continuing, and then coming back. So he was up against it, exactly like the boys were before. So he'd done all this work and been like doubling up, double bubble as we call it, doubling all the way up to the end. Did the dress rehearsal in the afternoon, and that Monday 16th is when Boris advised everybody not to go to the theatre at that 5 o'clock briefing, and we went to warm up and to parish notices, as we call it, where there's any kind of like bits and bobs that you need talking about or everything, but all departments were called. And as soon as you sort of seeing everybody walk on stage, you're like, it ain't happening. Just as David and I had stepped in as equity deps.
Oh God, yeah. Fucking hell.
So what was that?
So poor Rufus. I really hope Rufus is able to come back if he's available, and when we get to open and do it, because he looked set to be fabulous and he looked amazing in drag.
So Dark, we've not really had anybody on that was really in a show in the West End since we started this series. So what? So as you say, you came on for parish notices, you warm, and you were told there and then that it wasn't happening. So what was that like? What was the atmosphere like?
Well, I think the week before Broadway had gone dark. So as soon as Broadway went dark, that's when we all just had this feeling. And then that Monday, the 16th, is like a week before lockdown. Lockdown was the 23rd. So on that 16th, and he made that briefing at 5 o'clock. And clearly, I'm sure all the producers all spoke to each other as well, because everybody, the whole of the West End, nobody went on. I know there were a couple of touring productions that did the Monday night. I think Jamie might have even.
Yeah, they did.
In Birmingham, I think they were, and they did the Monday night. I know Curtains did the Monday night, because I remember seeing a tweet from Jason Manford. He'd made a speech at the curtain call. But yeah, that was it. We that was it. We all just trudged home.
I wasn't actually there. I was actually in Dublin. My grandfather died after a long battle of cancer. So I wasn't actually even there. I found out by looking at the WhatsApp group, and I think I messaged a few people saying what's going on, because actually at the time, I think, whilst it did feel like it was going to happen, I think deep inside me, I was putting it to the back of my mind and hoping that it was just kind of like an Ebola type thing and we could get through it. I don't think anybody at the time understood the true extent of what we were about to be faced with over the coming months. And it was like we had a rug pulled out from underneath us, you know, and we had to take some time to consolidate those thoughts and to really understand the severity of a world pandemic, you know, and what we were going through, and kind of acknowledge that sorry, that's just Mel's waitress. She's a butler as well. She's just getting dinner sorted for tonight.
She's sending me a message.
Oh, basically Mel's two
to tell me they're watching it downstairs.
Oh, girls, hi. And
I remember I remember David though worried whether you would be able to come back.
Yes,
because borders were closing and no one was able to fly, and I was thinking, and everyone was like, do you think David will be able to even get back from Dublin?
Well, this was the thing as well, because we were only told, I don't know if this is right, Matt, but from what I knew, it was that the show was only not happening on the Monday. We didn't know about the rest of the week. Yeah, we weren't told about. So I was flying back on the Tuesday, and I remember that flight home. Oh my God, there was barely anybody on the flight. Me and my brother got on the flight together from Dublin. You know, I was getting on, wiping the seat down, wearing my mask, and then got off the other end, and my boyfriend picked me up from Heathrow Airport, and I just said to him, I haven't got a show tonight, like. And I think then once the second night was cancelled, once I kind of got back to England, and this again, testament to the Jamie company, everybody's, are you going to get back all right, David? Oh my God, you know, it was a lot. And anything, actually, if anything, I'm going to get emotional even think about it now, because it really is a lot. Like, what's kept me going through a lot of these times, which has been really hard. Relatively, I understand we're not saving lives, we're not on the front line. I get that, you know, but relatively for me, my whole kind of life as I knew it kind of turned upside down with regards to my work. And what's got me through is the love and joy in the company WhatsApp group with the cast. We cry with laughter sometimes because of the pure unadulterated joy, and I challenge anybody to find a more diverse cast with regards to females, LGBTQ, people of color, race, religion, you know, all these things, age. You know, we have someone who's 17, and then we have Sejal who's 82.
Me.
You know, we've got
and me.
And me. When we've got such a diverse age that don't put silly mouths, a little salty potato. And in that WhatsApp group, we have such an extraordinary amount of love that actually, at times, it's been a real testament. So I feel very lucky that if I was going to be in a show when this pandemic hit, that I was in one of the most loving companies that I think I've ever experienced in my career.
And also in a show where we are just so desperate to get back. We want to get back. We have a producer who by hook or by crook will get us back. Yeah. Just for the pure love of the show. And also because of the day I got emotional and sad about my job, I was on the phone to my agent, and we were just talking about how ticket prices, and if that has to be ramped up hugely because of us only being able to play to half a house if we have to social distance and everything. I just got so emotional because the mainstay of the people that come and see the show, you know, week after week, especially on the weekends, are teenagers, 20-year-olds or something, that have got 20 quid to be able to queue in the morning and buy tickets to sit on the front row. They're the mainstay because they're the people that come to the show and they can come dressed and represent themselves however they feel they want to, and can come and be accepted, and they can sit in that theatre and nobody's judging them, nobody's looking at them, because they see themselves on stage and they're represented up there. And it just made me so sad to think that those people are going to need us to get back, to come and have their outlet, you know, the place where they belong. I mean, I'm not quoting show, but
you're so true. Right.
You know,
people want a sense of escapism. People want a sense of escapism. People need to get people. You know, as long as it's safe and we can ensure people that they can come and experience theatre in a safe environment and in a way that's not going to endanger their health or our health, and it can be affordable at the time, I think people will come, and I do. And some people may say I'm naive, and I'm not, and I'm okay with that. I'll take that on the chin. But I genuinely think that right now, I am so worried about where people's mental health and PTSD from this, and the stress that's going to come from this for people. I'm really worried because actually I don't think this government is any way prepared for the mental health crisis that is going to follow this. And I've been really open and quite forward about that in the last few months through my dialogues and chats. And I think it's really important that, and that's why, again, I go back to the Jamie group and how supportive it was and how everyone has each other back, but not everybody has that. And theatre for some people is their family, is their place where they belong, as Mel says.
Yeah.
And it's our jobs. It's our livelihoods. People are freelancers in this industry. Some people were able to apply for the grants that the government set up, which was very welcomed. But there are also people that have yet up to now not had a penny from the government, and still, after the announcement last week, are still not included because they fall through the cracks from being a company themselves, or earning over a threshold, or haven't got enough years tax. We've got kids in our company that haven't got 10, 15 years, 25 years tax records behind them. They've only just started out, and you needed 3 years tax to be able to apply for this grant. So many people are still not got any money coming in at all. It's frightening, and it is our job. It's not just something that we think, oh, I fancy doing that. I fancy going into musical theatre. I fancy being in a show. It's what we do.
Yeah, and that's why I put this status up a while ago now, wasn't it? Today, I'm not a Wendy, I'm not a Twirly, I'm not an actor, I'm a person who's lost their job. And I understand across the country, people are losing their jobs. I'm one of them. So why does me, because I'm an actor, or Mel's an actor, why does their job matter any less than what theirs is? I still can't pay my bills if I don't have a job and I don't have money coming in. So does that mean that my job is less important? When it comes to doctors and people saving lives, I get it. I understand. But for us, that still doesn't change the fact that we've had clarity this week and positive steps forward in a reintroduction of theatre. And for that, I am so grateful.
Yeah. And I think also as well, I understand, yes, a lot of people have sort of had their livelihoods ripped apart from them. But on the flip side, there's so many things that have happened online as a result of this unprecedented thing that's happened. Like all these concerts, all these things that have happened. Like this, like tonight, I know there's the big Turn It On concert happening.
Turn Up.
Turn It Up happening online, which you should go check out after this show because it looks so impressive.
It's on for the next 2 nights as well. You can get tickets. Next 3 nights, it's £10 a ticket. It's an incredible concert put together with some of the finest lineup you'll ever witness in a concert. But me and Mel, we've got our tickets and we're so proud to support our friends, our Black friends, and hope to be better allies in the future. So if anybody watching this can do that, please do.
Absolutely. Yeah, and also, this wouldn't happen. This Friday Night Rambles wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the situation. So once again, thank you so much for giving up your time today. We're going to play one last game before we sort of finish wrapping things up. And it's my favorite game of them all. It's called Don't Hesitate. Now, the aim of the game is very, very simple. You've got 60 seconds. You're going to get a random subject. All you have to do, don't hesitate. Don't don't do anything that I would deem as a hesitation. And then you get to be a 60-second champion. I must say, 3 musical theatre performers out of the 6 that we've had so far have been 60-second champions. Steph Parry, Susie McAdam, and Johnny Barr.
Yeah, but they're all foghorns.
Oh, 3 buttes. 3 buttes.
Foghorns, a lot of them.
So no pressure. Normally, I would do it as a case of pick out of the hat because there's only 2 of you. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. Go on.
David's going to go first. There's David. David, your chosen subject is... I'm picking out of a randomizer here. Tricycles.
Oh, Jesus.
So how do you feel about that?
I'm ready and waiting.
Ready and waiting. So I'm going to get the timer up. You will go on to. I'm going to put the pressure on. The pressure's on. You're on full screen view. So, David.
Yes, Robert.
Tricycles. 60 seconds. Your time starts now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Friday Night Rambles with me, David O'Reilly, Mel and Robert. We've spent a good hour and a bit talking about the industry and the folks that are involved in the industry, but now I would like to talk to you about tricycles. Tricycles not to be confused with bicycles, because bicycles have 2 wheels and tricycles have 3. I myself am a fan of the tricycle. I've never owned one, but I would like to own one. They have 1 big wheel at the front and 2 small wheels at the back. And I think they're a fantastic mode of transport. Various other modes of transport include cars, trains, and planes. But the tricycle is the most environmentally friendly. By going on the roads on a tricycle, you too can do your part in helping global warming and climate change. I am a fan of climate change, and with tricycles, we too can defeat global warming. Now, the British government hasn't pushed tricycles as much as they should have. They're constantly going on about
60 seconds! 60-second champion!
Oh my gosh. I know.
Mel, you're going to nail it.
I thought it was going to be like you ask a question and don't hesitate and answer it. I can.
You can, Mel.
That was brilliant.
Mate, I've been in your dressing room. Just imagine someone's pissed you off and just go with that subject.
Do you know what? I think that's the joint best we've had. I think there's 3 don't hesitates that have come to mind. You are now going in the history as one of the best don't hesitates we've had.
Thank you so much, Robert. Mel, imagine someone just opened a can in the middle of the pause in He's My Boy, or If I Knew Myself Again. If I Met Myself Again.
Do you know what? They can have a whole picnic. I don't care now. They can pass Burger Kings down the things. I don't care. As long as we're back and we're doing the show.
They can have a whole buffet.
They can put their feet up on the edge of the stage. I don't care.
Right, let's give Melissa her one. Your chosen subject is synchronized swimming. Melissa, how do you feel?
Very nervous.
Very nervous. Okie dokie. Melissa, synchronized swimming, 60 seconds. Your time starts now.
Synchronized swimming is an Olympic sport. It takes place in a swimming pool with lots of young ladies and young men. I don't know if there is a men's synchronized swimming, but I'd like to see it. They wear a funny little... Oh!
That's a hesitation! That's a hesitation!
They wear a funny little... Do I stop? Okay.
Yes, you stop! That was 15 seconds. Which, if
I had in my head as well that when I was on holiday, I used to pretend that I was a synchronized swimmer when I was a child, and my parents would think, "Where's Melissa?" And they'd look to the pool and see 2 little legs sticking up in the pool, and they think, "Oh, she's all right, she's there." But I couldn't remember the word nose clip, so I failed.
Amazing.
It was a hesitation. I must admit, you did better than me. I got 13 seconds on mushrooms, and you did better than Maria Coyne, who got 3 seconds.
Oh, Peach.
Oh,
She got 3 seconds. But hey, David, you're another 60-second champion. Congratulations.
He's a wordsmith. The boy's a wordsmith, though, and a writer. He's a brilliant writer. So that's why.
Oh, no, stop it. I love you, mate.
So
I can't wait to get back.
I
miss you too, mate.
Oh, I love this love. I love this love. So the last couple of questions I want to talk about. Can you remember your first experiences of theatre in general?
Yes.
What were they? Let's talk about the first, because one of the things that I really want to do is promote the idea of local theatre and live entertainment, because obviously when we get out of this, we're going to need our local theatres more than anything. So let's start with David. David, what was your first experience of theatre?
So my first experience with theatre would have been my mum always had an Andrew Lloyd Webber CD in her car when we were younger, or tape, and we would listen to it. And I remember just being completely enthralled by this music. I loved music. And then my mum was the receptionist for a while at the local community centre, and they had a variety group. And I'd go and watch the shows. They'd have the variety show of you, and I'd be completely and utterly enthralled. And I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. So then when I got the opportunity to join drama classes and do a musical every year at primary school, oh my God, I jumped at the chance. And I feel so lucky that I had a mum and a dad that allowed me to do that and experience shows and theatre and open my mind up to music and just let me experience stuff that so many parents would have been like, what's wrong? My son wants to watch musicals. They didn't. They opened it up with their heart, and it was part of our upbringing. And that would have been the local variety group in Kilnamanagh in Dublin would have been my first experience of kind of witnessing theatre.
And Melissa, what about you?
Well, we were always taken to a pantomime from as early as I can remember. So that always happened every Christmas, and then started taking part in, the shows that your local dancing school. I remember being quite young and being in a Mary Poppins section, and I remember this lady was playing Mary Poppins, and I remember thinking, is it actually Mary Poppins? Like I was so in awe of this woman, who was a lady who was in some of the amazing amateur dramatics companies in the area in Sheffield. But I just remember just being so enthralled by her. And then again, like David said, just my parents going, listen to this, watch this. My dad giving me a tape of Ella Fitzgerald and saying, listen to this. And then, in the days of VHS and, video recorders, and saying, we taped you a film last night. There was a film on last night called A Chorus Line. Your dad's taped it, you can watch it. And I was always watching musicals. But what the biggest thing that I literally went through my chest like a bolt of lightning was I went to see the matinee of a touring version of Evita.
Wow.
So it would have been in the 80s. I would have said maybe around about 87, 86, 87, something like that. It was the matinee. It was at the City Hall, which is not a touring venue, it's a concert hall. But they managed to, I think Jackie Scott was playing Evita. And my dad took me to a matinee, and that whole opening starts. And as soon as it goes dark, you get the chills and you're excited. But that whole cinema bit started, and I couldn't really understand what's happening. I was like, oh, there's a cinema thing going on. It's in a different language, and I don't really quite understand this. And there's cigarette smoke happening. And then the news stops, and the news comes on that she's died. And I've got chills now. The screams from the ensemble, and then the music comes in. I couldn't believe what happened to me. I swear to God, from that moment, I was like, it went straight through my chest, and I thought, that is it. That is the most powerful thing I've ever seen, and that's what I'm going to do.
And I want to say off the back of what Mel said as well, she mentioned pantomime there, and sadly I've seen a lot of snobbery around pantomime, particularly at the moment, where the industry needs to be coming together. And I mean, the regional theatres and the West End theatres need to come together to make sure that everyone is looked after, not just the regional theatres, the West End, not just the West End, but regional. It needs to be shared out fairly amongst so everyone can keep their head above water. Not one theatre benefit more than that theatre. Everyone keep their head above water.
No.
And I've seen a recent person who runs a regional theatre describe them as glossy pantomimes and glossy commercial pantomimes. And just because people don't choose to have pantomimes at their theatres. They do Christmas shows. Pantomimes are some of the first shows that children will ever see in their lives. They're the first into the live entertainment. And whether it be the small panto in their community hall or whether it be the big panto at the Palladium, your parents have decided to bring you and invite you into a world that they may have never experienced before. So I think it's really disrespectful and incredibly harsh when people look down their noses, because actually some of the finest actors in the world and in the country have done and are involved in pantomime productions across the world. And some of the finest work, choreography, acting choices, sets, and special effects are involved in them. And it doesn't matter whether it's a small panto or a big panto. We should all be coming together now to say that everybody's form of art and form of work is equally as important as that one. And we should not, and I was really disappointed in the statistic director, we do not put down other forms of entertainment in order to benefit the sources of entertainment that we provide. At the moment, this is a crisis across all sectors of entertainment. We all need to keep each other and rise each other up and lift each other up, not tear each other down, so we can benefit more from it for our own circumstances.
Couldn't have said it better.
Absolutely. So I could not have said it better. Exactly, Robert. And also, it was my first job. It's a lot of people's first jobs. It's how they start out in this industry. And also, it is something that is completely unique to the United Kingdom. This form of entertainment, this form of play, it only happens in this country. Americans don't know what, but Europe, they don't, Italy has commedia dell'arte. They have their thing, musical theatre, if you like. It started in America. That's what they do. This is our thing as well, and I feel the same as well. And also, not so much, I guess, the touring theatres that have producers, big panto producers put in, but the regional theatres that do their pantos for the year or their festive production for that Christmas period. The money they bring in from that time gets them through the rest of the year, so that they can then produce a Shakespeare and a musical and a new writer's play. That if they don't get, and I said on, because David and I have been equity deps from Jamie, and we've been on we've all been together the West End. It's been unbelievable on this whole Zoom conference calls all the time. And I said the other day,
something we'll remember for life, won't we, Mel? It'll be something that will sit with us for life.
Before we got the 1.57 billion last week, I'd said, because we just felt left out, we didn't feel like anybody was speaking up for our sector. And it was just like, why are they waiting? Clearly they had got something in plan, but they just weren't talking about it. So we were just being left. And I said that night, I said, it feels like the government should give all those regional theatres that amount of money that they would have made over that Christmas to help them get their heads above water. Because that's what they need to bring in. Hopefully, we've got more guidance this week. Hopefully, in a few weeks' time, we'll have even more guidance, and those festive productions and those pantomimes will be able to go ahead, and then we can start to keep their heads above water and start to plan for the following year.
Absolutely, 100%.
And that leads me on to my final question. It's 100%. Like you've linked it in perfectly. Why do you think local theatre and theatre in general is important? Which I think we've already described in a broad sense, but in one sentence, let's start with Melissa. Why do you think local theatre and theatre in general is important?
Because doesn't matter where you live, if you have access to be able to go and see some live performance, you don't know who's going to be going. As a child from school, you don't know who's going to be in that audience. It's going to be inspired on that day. And some, these theatres, this isn't one sentence, sorry, but some theatres do like a £5 matinee for kids that are wanting to study or going to study, want to be a lighting designer, want to be a director, want to be a set designer, want to be an actor. That's going to be, like I said, when I went to see that production of Evita, you never know what that performance that day is going to mean to somebody. And also, Jonathan Buttrell, our creator and director, always says to us, sometimes when he comes in and we press the reset button and we have a chat, and he said, and don't forget, tonight might be the first time somebody's seen a piece of theatre. It also might be the last time someone's seen a piece of theatre. It's just fundamental that these places are still open, that people can still go and see.
And David?
Because for me, local theatre is more than just local theatre. Local theatre is a source of community. It's a source of entertainment. It's a source of belonging for people, whether that be through their educational departments that they have, whether that be through the amateur productions that they put on, whether that be the professional productions that they welcome into their cities and towns. They are opening that community's eyes all the time, Monday to Sunday, 24 hours a day. They are there for their communities with open door policies. And I think for many performers in the West End, it was their stepping stone to realizing that they wanted to be a professional. And some of them have gone back and played as a professional at these regional theatres. And for them, that has been a full circle moment. And I think we need to be much more, you know, I did One Man, Two Governors last year at a regional theatre. It was one of the hardest jobs I've ever done in my career, in my life. But I worked in a fantastic cast who I would call some friends for life, who threw themselves into this production, and we made sure that those people in Derby, when they came for a night of entertainment, that they didn't feel like they were left shortcut. And to hear things like, "Oh my God, we've seen it in the West End and we've seen it here, and it was equally as good, if not better," that is when local theatres are at their best, because they don't have commercial limitations at times holding them back. They can just go all heads in, chuck themselves in, and make a mess. And like Mel said, it's not just actors, it's light designers, sound designers, front of house staff, box office, accessibility staff, marketing teams, PR companies. All these is where people get their stepping stones from. And I think that moving forward, the link between the West End and local theatres needs to be built upon, so that regional theatres don't have a nasty taste in their mouth with West End, and the West End don't have a nasty taste and a look down on regional theatres. And if we can come together as two communities and blend into truly one community, the theatre community will be completely untouchable.
And fingers crossed it remains untouchable. Do you know what? This has been one of the best hour and a halves, or close to an hour and a half, I've spent in a long time. Thank you so much to David and to Melissa for spending your evening with us, having a bit of a ramble. Next week, we're actually going to...
Thank you to David,
you. Yeah, Robert, thank you. You've basically just been a guest in mine and Mel's WhatsApp conversations for the last hour and a half.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. Next week, we are going to spend... David mentions variety. We have got some fantastic variety performers that are going to be here next week. But a big thank you from Melissa, from David, and from myself. It is goodbye for tonight. Thank you so much. Goodbye.